Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about bones of skull, and here at the side you can see the diagrammatic representation of skull showing different bones in different colors for the reference. So let's start the topic with introduction. Human skull is a complex bony structure that forms the head. It protects the brain, supports facial structures, and provides attachment points for muscles involved in chewing, speech, and facial expression. It is divided into two main parts. The first is cranial bones and the second is facial bones. Cranial bones form the protective cranial cavity surrounding the brain. Facial bones form the structure of the face and house the opening for the respiratory and digestive tract. First, we will talk about cranial bone and then we will talk about facial bone one by one. In cranial bone, they encase the brain and are tightly joined by immovable joints that are called as suture. They include frontal bone, that is unpaired bone. As you can see in the diagram, the yellow color bone is frontal bone. It forms the forehead and roof of the eye socket. It contains frontal air sinuses and contributes to the upper part of cranial cavity. Next bone is parietal bone. As you can see in diagram, the blue color bone that is occupying most portion of the cranial cavity is the parietal bone. It is paired bone. It is located on either side of skull. It forms most of the roof and upper sides of cranial cavity, as we earlier said. Next bone in cranial bone we have is temporal bone. As you can see in the diagram, the orange color bone at the side is temporal bone. It is paired bone. It forms beneath the parietal bone on either side of the head. As you can see there, it is below the parietal bone. It contains the ear canal and structure essential for hearing and balance. Each has the processes such as mastoid process and styloid process. Next bone in cranial cavity, cranial bones we have is occipital bone, that is unpaired bone, and here at the side you can see the diagrammatic representation of it. The green color bone at the back side of skull is occipital bone. It forms the back and base of skull. It contains the foramen magnum through which the spinal cord connects to the brain. Next in cranial bone we have a sphenoid bone, that is a single bone, and here in the diagram it is shown in pink color. It is a butterfly shaped bone at the base of skull. It articulates with many other cranial bones and contains the sella turcica, which houses the pituitary gland. Next we have is ethmoid bone, that is also the unpaired bone, and in the diagram you can see the red color bone with just in front of the zygomatic bone you can see is the ethmoid bone. It is unpaired bone. It is a delicate bone located between the eyes. It contributes the wall of the orbit and nasal cavity. It contains the crista galli and cribriform plate. Next, we will talk about facial bone. As we earlier said, the cranial bones are divided into two categories: the cranial bones and the facial bones. We have talked about the cranial bones, and now we will talk about facial bone. These bones form the basic framework of the face and serve protective and structural functions. These bones include nasal bone. As you can see in the diagram, the green color bone in the front is the nasal bone. They are the paired bone. They are small rectangular bone that forms the bridge of the nose. Then we have is maxilla. As you can see in diagram, the light green color is the maxilla. They are paired bone. They form the upper jaw, parts of orbit, and anterior portion of the hard palate. Each maxilla contains a maxillary sinus. Next facial bone we have is zygomatic bone. As you can see in the diagram, the white color bone is zygomatic bone. It is paired bone. It is also known as cheekbone. It articulates with the temporal bone through the zygomatic arch. Next we have is mandible. The light blue color bone is the mandible. It is unpaired bone. It is the lower jaw bone that is the only movable bone in the skull. It supports the lower teeth and play a key role in speech and chewing. Next, in facial bone we have is a lacrimal bone, that is a paired bone. They are small bone located in the medial wall of each orbit. They contain the lacrimal groove for tear drainage. Next, we have is palatine bone, that are also the paired bone. They contribute to the posterior part of hard palate and nasal cavity. Next, in facial bone we have inferior nasal conchae, that is also the paired bone. They are thin curved bone projecting from the lateral wall of nasal cavity. Next we have is vomer, that is unpaired bone. They form the inferior part of nasal septum dividing the nasal cavity. Now let's talk about important sutures of skull. Important sutures of skull include coronal suture, that is present between the frontal and parietal bone. Next we have is sagittal suture, that is present between the two parietal bone. Next we have is rhomboid suture, that is present between the parietal bone and occipital bone. Next we have is squamous suture that is present between the parietal and temporal bone. Now let's talk about conclusion of this lecture video. Human skull is marvel of nature architecture, strong yet lightweight, complex yet symmetrical. Each bone play a role in protecting the brain, supporting sensory organ, and allowing communication and movement. Understanding the skull structure is fundamental for anatomy, medicine, dentistry, and anthropology. And this was all about the bone of skull. Hopefully you liked the video. If you do, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Thank you for watching.